Okay, we're going to keep moving. Standard precautions, and then we'll do allergy response. Standard precautions used to be called universal precautions, and the big thing here is to wash your hands. And it's just acknowledging that other people's blood and body fluids can infect you with serious illness if you do not take steps to protect yourself. And those steps include gloves, mask, clothing, but usually we're talking about gloves. So precautions include gloves for anticipated contact with a person's blood or body fluids, gowns or apron if soiling of clothes is likely, and that would only apply here if you had somebody that, and it's usually not in your classroom setting, but somebody who maybe spits or bites, and you know about that. We do have paper gowns if that's something that's going on. Goggles or masks. I mean, we have them, we never use them, but they are available. And always, always washing your hands. When you take your gloves off, wash your hands. Just because you had gloves on doesn't mean you're scot-free, right? These are some of the things you can contract from exposure to other people's stuff. But we are most likely to be harmed seriously by the influenza virus, and there is going to be another flu shot day where BFIT comes and offers us the flu shot. And she'll be at Discovery one day and up here at this campus, and she's working on getting it so that we can charge our insurance. So maybe we won't have to pay that, whatever it is. So she's working on that. I'll let you know when I send out the schedule how that's going. Direct contact should be avoided with all of the following. And this is just obvious, but you got to remember those really runny noses. And we need to hand those kids Kleenexes and then make sure they throw them in the trash and then wash their hands. If you see somebody with like a icky scrape or something, send them to the nurse's office and we'll clean it up and get it covered. You should not be in school with an open wound. So if you are, you need to be sent to the nurse's office and we need to get covered. A long sleeve shirt is okay. That's a covering. So if they got something on their elbow and their shirt's down over it, then they're covered. So if you're exposed, and it's your hands, wash them. But if you get something into your eyes, we do have eye wash stations in all the nurses' office, in the labs, like the science labs up here at the high school, in the shop, in the middle school and here in the high school. There are needles around because we have kids that are diabetics and adults. So if you would happen to find one around, do not recap it. We have those red Sharps containers in the nurse's office. You know, pick it up safely and remove it. Don't just stare at it on the ground because it could hurt someone. If something gets in your eyes and you're off-site, we would rinse it with saline, like the same stuff they use for contact lenses and stuff like that. So we don't ignore it and wait till you get to a sink. You know, these are things that happen in school. So gloves, keep them handy. You should have a pair in your desk. If you don't, come and get one. Always put a barrier between you and that body fluid. So lots of paper towels, gloves, etc. Little kids throw up, and sometimes without warning. But if you have a puke bucket, send them to the nurse with that. Again, paper towels. Let me know if someone's coming down the hall so we can try and the hall from being contaminated. And if the hall is contaminated, we have the custodial staff has been training on how to clean that, so it shouldn't be you. Don't try and clean it. We'll go. But do put a barrier around there, like throw a trash can in front or whatever it is, or a chair so people don't walk through it. The custodial team has the appropriate cleaning tools, and they've been trained on how to clean it up. Okay, any questions? Wash your hands. Okay. Allergy prevention and response. This has been mandated by the state of Missouri that we all learn this, so thank you. So there's allergies in a school setting, we all know that, and the best way to prevent an allergic reaction is to avoid the allergen. Well, that's easier said than done in a lot of ways. People cook with things that we didn't know they were in there, like peanut oil or what have you. So the best way is to prevent it by not going near it, but we don't always know that we're allergic to something. So the other thing is people can be allergic to things, and the reaction can be subtle, like they get headaches a lot, things like that. So that's why this district has decided to kind of ban those things that are commonly over-scented or have a lot of chemical in them, and that includes like wipes and things like that. So don't bring it from home. If you need them, tell your principal that you need them, and they'll get them for you through the district. Don't bring anything from home like candles or air fresheners, and that makes sense because if we find out we've got an allergy, it's a lot easier to figure it out when we all use the same thing than if we're all bringing in whatever we like. The other thing I say about this is strong perfumes, you shouldn't wear them, and the kids shouldn't spray them. So that awesome Axe that we love so much, they can't spray it at school. It doesn't mean they can't bathe in it at home, but they can't spray it at school. So here's some definitions of that. Allergen, that's the trigger. We don't always know what that's going to be. The allergic reaction is your immune system's abnormal response to something that doesn't usually cause a threat. Anaphylaxis is if that allergic reaction becomes life-threatening. So allergic reactions can trigger a lot of things, and they don't all lead to anaphylaxis. So that itchy, rashy face and runny nose and eyes, that's somebody we'd like to watch, but not necessarily give an EpiPen to, right? We all see. So, but when it starts turning into coughing, wheezing, and difficulty breathing, that's an EpiPen situation. This vomiting, diarrhea, and stomach pain, we may not know. I mean, this kid may come with a tummy ache, and we don't know that he's been exposed. So, just things to remember. If that's coming along after a respiratory distress, this kid's in big trouble. So, or all of us, anyone's in big trouble. And then your cardiovascular system, if it's affected, you're probably, if we don't intervene, you probably won't live through this. So here's the top most common food allergies, but they're obviously not all-inclusive because people can be allergic to anything at any time. You can acquire an allergy when you're 50. Most people are older, whatever. But most people have find out that in the first couple of exposures they're allergic to something. And you almost never outgrow an allergy. Babies can. Babies that seem to have a reaction to milk and eggs can. It's like more like a reaction because their tummies are immature. Bugs and latex, I mean, you never know if you're going to be allergic to something. If you have a kid that's been stung by a bee or a wasp, send them to the nurse's office and we'll just watch them for a little while. Most of the time the area is just red and itchy like everyone else, but we like to see them for a little bit to make sure it's not going to turn into something else, and we let their moms know. Latex is can be a big allergy risk, and luckily now things aren't so commonly made from latex, but things that are still made from like balloons and things like that. So if you have a parent wanting to bring that in, ask them to buy the latex-free stuff. I don't have anyone allergic to latex right now that I know of, but that doesn't mean you can't obviously become allergic. Prompt management is needed. So what do? Well, you don't eat what you're allergic to, but that's sometimes easier said than done, right? accidental exposure is the biggest problem, because especially at restaurants, people cook with peanut oil, or somebody had made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it's called cross-contamination. So we know that's out there. Most people who know they're allergic to peanuts then don't eat peanuts, right? But so cross-contamination and unknown allergies are the biggest culprit here. And if you're having an allergic reaction that is anaphylactic, the way to treat you is with an EpiPen. It has epinephrine in it, and it is, it will save your life. And most fatalities occur either because that someone didn't know and there's no epinephrine to save them, or there's epinephrine everywhere and people are too nervous to use it. So just, if you think they need it, then they do. Use it. Usually, you, within the first 20 minutes of exposure, will have some symptoms of anaphylaxis. Once they start, they tend to roll on pretty quickly. Hives, skin rashes, flushing, that can stop right there, and you would need Benadryl and just watch it for a while. But these things start rolling on, you know, people have an itchy throat, and then all of a sudden everything's going wrong. This chest tightness, shortness of breath, nausea, vomiting, those things are very, very serious. So the thing is if you know a kid has a peanut allergy, and then they come up to you and say, I think I ate a peanut, there's going to be a problem. You get them to the nurse's office, and if you're not around us, then you send somebody to get the EpiPen. These are all just a progression of symptoms that ultimately end in death. Now, when you use an EpiPen, you always call 911. Even if it's an adult and they're telling you they're fine, just call it. They can tell the rescue people that. Let them tell them that. Okay, kids are funny because they don't have the vocabulary to let us know. A lot of times, especially little kids, so they say things like this, and I'll let you just read them. But you know, if a kid was persistently telling you that my lips hurt or something's wrong, look on your list to see if they're allergic to something. You know, this food is too spicy. I mean, I hear that at my house all the time. They just don't like it. But that's not, but if they keep saying it and you're in the cafeteria, look on your list. You should have a list. And you will have a list. Got it? Okay. So what's epinephrine? It's a natural substance, so you're not allergic to epinephrine. You can't give someone epinephrine and they have an allergic reaction to that. Everybody has it. It's like the adrenaline in our body. If the student's old enough and they, you know, if we're talking about a high school kid and they have an EpiPen, they've been trained on how to use it, so you would rather coach them through using it themselves than taking it out of their hand and using it. Students that are deemed responsible by their parents and physicians and carry their own EpiPen, that shouldn't be before like 6th grade, maybe a 5th grader, but not usually. And they always will require help of an adult. So even though you're not taking that EpiPen out of their hand, you don't leave them alone. And call 911. Epinephrine, we went over this. It works because it diverts all that blood flow to where you need it in your airway, your brain, saving your life. Here's the problem though. It may not be enough to take care of the allergic reaction completely. So 911 needs to come and take you to the hospital, because another reaction after that wears off can happen. Some people know, some people, yes. We had a kid here who needed her EpiPen because of a peanut exposure and had consecutive reactions for the whole weekend. So like every 8 hours or so, she was having problems. So it just depends on the amount of exposure. If you determine that you're actually having an allergic reaction, you call the nurse. Don't wait for me, because what if I'm at the bus garage and you're pretty far away. So you know how to use the EpiPen, use it. Someone call 911, tell the nurse, give the epinephrine. You know, if I'm right there and you're just in the hallway, I'm coming. Okay, but don't stand around for 15 minutes waiting for the nurse. Somebody will tell the parent, obviously, and then somebody needs to tell the first responder what has happened. And if you don't know, don't say. So if you think they ate a peanut, but you don't know, because maybe they got stung by a bee, we don't know. Just because they're outside doesn't mean they weren't stung by a bee, maybe they were eating something off the ground. Stay with the student until they're transported. Usually one of us will go with them. So how do you deal with a student? And it sounds like I'm dealing with students, but what do you do? Well, you never send them alone to the nurse. You send somebody else with them, or you go with them. We do not let students share or trade food. If there's a student in your classroom with a known allergy, we should try not to let that allergy into the room. And I say that because you never know what's in a kid's lunch. So we ask that that's complied with, but we don't always know. The other thing is, most people can tolerate sitting beside someone who has a peanut butter sandwich with a peanut allergy. Most people can, so it's not the world's biggest deal if, you know, a kid next to them is eating something with a peanut, but it's not ideal. Students have been bullied associated with their allergies and foods. That's kind of a middle school thing, but it's an immature kid thing, right? They'll say, I dare you to eat a peanut, and maybe the kid will do it. If you're going on a field trip, I ask that you come by and review your list of kids with issues and review the process for administering an EpiPen or an asthma inhaler before you go. And you should know, you guys, most people here have elementary students, but even high school, there's a list prepared for who's going. That's what they look like. If you're under 60 pounds, that's kind of the rule of thumb, 60 pounds and less, use the EpiPen Junior, that's a 66. But, so like Discovery Elementary, that's almost everybody. There's not a lot of really big second grade. That would be a really big second grader to use a junior. It's still kind of a rule of thumb. You're not going to weigh a kid, right? So if they're a big kid, use the big one, and it won't hurt them if they get a little bit of an overdose. It won't kill them. So when you use an EpiPen on someone, it's because you think they're having an allergic reaction, but if you're going to stand around and wonder what to do, they can crash and die. So if you think it's happening and they're showing some of these symptoms, then do it. Do it. The EpiPens are in the AED cabinets. Do you guys know where those are? Do you know what? There's one by the nurse's office in elementary and at Discovery. The one here in the high school is right by the front door on the left, and the one in the middle school is by the cafeteria. Any questions? Anybody? Okay, that's it. Thank you.